That's funny.
Test, test. Yeah, I'll have to change out my microphone. Joined by the lovely, lovely Coach Charity. How are you feeling today, Charity?
Awesome. How are you doing?
Living the dream! Ready to go.
Woo-hoo.
Excited to talk about the topic today, which is swapping out destructive addictions for positive ones. We're going to define what an addiction is. We're going to put some actions into place so that you can leave here today on a better path than you're currently on. So very excited to talk about this. We're going to make sure that we give you guys high volume or high value per second, which
Um, I'm so excited. This is timely. I'm sure everybody has problems with trying to figure out what they're going to do in their environment and the way they can make positive habit change and stuff.
test.
And we're doing it at our house when it comes to screen addictions and everything. And I don't think that this is just our isolated to home. So why to swap out maybe screen stuff for self-care, since that's also part of the theme of this week with our challenge starting. So yeah, how can you
Yes.
choose you?
And if you
Mhm.
guys right now haven't seen the challenge, if you're not in on the challenge yet, make sure to watch the recording video. And actually, really quick, let me just tag everyone in this chat here. Good morning. Day one self care comeback, and let's tag everyone. Boom. So if you guys aren't on the challenge yet and you missed it, missed kickoff happened on Saturday. Watch this video. I'm going to help you implement what we're going to dive into your biggest 3 actions to be able to get your results going. Today is us being able to just, double down on that and to keep it going. Hopefully you guys get some good ideas. If you guys are in the challenge, let me know in the comments below. Like this video so it sends out to more people as well. So we've got 5 actions to be able to change destructive habits for positive ones. First, let's define what is a addiction. What's a habit, right? How do you define an addiction, Charity?
Something that you do without really thinking about it. I don't think there's a lot of intention and mindfulness behind it. It's just something it's just like when you're driving to your work or something, and you don't even know how you got there because you're just so used to it, just in this circular pattern in your brain.
Yes, and yeah, I agree. To add to that, I like to think about actions that we do or addictions, which is just a label, as achieving 3 of our human needs or more at the same time. So what are human needs? In case you haven't heard them before, we talk about them as certainty, uncertainty, significance, connection, and love, growth, and contribution. Now, everyone's going to have their human need that they feel the most pulled towards, whether it's significant, whether it's love. If an action achieves 3 or more of these human needs at the same time, it's really hard to quit. Now, what we aim to do is make something positive that is getting you to where you want to be, also achieving these human needs so that you feel pulled towards them. The trend that you'll hear me say very often is we want weight loss, we want transforming to feel easy. Low pain, high pleasure, achieving your human needs. If it does not do this, your days are numbered. Discipline's a lie. Discipline does not exist. People that say, oh man, I'm so disciplined because I do grueling workouts, they feel significant. They feel special, right? So yeah, even though they're hard, they value doing that hard thing as I am significant. Now, that might not be you, and that's okay. We just have to see what works within, your values. So sorry to hijack that, but let's
No,
let's
I
dive
think,
in.
and then as far as destructive addictions, it's because
Yeah.
how you feel afterwards, I think, is probably how you can gauge on whether it's a destructive or it's a positive addiction. I think
Yes. Is
that's
it bringing
important.
you further, even just logically, is it bringing you further away from your goals or closer? Right? And yeah, to your point, do you feel good or bad?
Because I mean, we mostly know if this is a positive behavior or not. I mean, I think we know.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
Mm.
So, what's the first thing? So, the first thing we need to
It's
do
nice to
is,
have a list of things that you want to do that are positive and the things that do work well for you. So you have that at the ready. And it also, by putting some thought into it, you might be more likely to do it that night because you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot that this positive behavior made me feel so good. I need to get back to that. So having that just already at the ready for yourself, maybe you put it on your screen on your phone before you go dive into games or whatever, or maybe
Yes.
you put it in your cabinet before you dive into the snack bag. You have this list of things that bring you whatever you're seeking. Maybe it's comfort, maybe it's de-stressing, maybe it's, maybe you're thirsty. I don't know. But you have the list already at the ready and you've primed yourself up for success.
Yes. So identify what actions are going to be positive, right? Which ones do you want to do? Okay, that makes sense. I like it.
Yeah.
What would be number two?
So that list is priming your environment for your success. So you already have it at the ready. Maybe that means you have your shoes by the door. Maybe you have a
Yes.
basket by the door that you drop your phone into as soon as you come in and you go straight to the kitchen to get a drink of water. But
Yes.
priming your environment, because then you have the visual aids in front of you. It's reminding you, because we are visual creatures. Oh yeah, I'm going to do this instead of that today because I have my environment primed for that success.
That's such a great point. I feel like a lot of us think about the think about like our goals and we think about the end state of our goals where if we can just prime our environment for getting started, all we need to do is activate. You've probably heard this idea of like activation energy or like what is it? I guess it's just inertia, right? Breaking inertia. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's really hard in the morning to get out of bed, but it's like if you can just get up and get moving, you're already going to increase the likelihood of success. So whether you're trying to read more or journal or exercise, set those clothes out. Put the journal on the bed. Have the alarm go off on your phone. Put parental settings on your phone that shut your phone off at 8 p.m. where it's a nuisance to have to go in and fix it. Same thing with Netflix, right? It sounds funny, but if we can create barriers, if we can make our we'll say painful, we'll say destructive actions, habits, if we can make them harder to do and make our good habits easier to do, that's where you start switching the tides and you start feeling pulled towards these things. That's crucial.
Yep.
I'll keep
Agreed.
talking. So just one piece of this is maybe I won't digress too much, but just again going back to pleasure and pain. If we think about food, because I know a lot of people deal with the destructive habit of eating after dinner or overeating their calories. If you have a sweet tooth right now, which may just mean you have a sweet tooth because you've been eating sweets the last 2 weeks. Remember, our gut microbiome is a lot of in control of what we crave. Now, yes, we crave certain nutrients that we're missing, but if you eat a lot of, let's say, sugar, your body will crave sugar more. And there's more and more research coming out that supports this. That's why when you don't eat sugar for a couple weeks or months, you don't crave it as much. Why? Because the literal bacteria, the enzymes that digest sugar in your gut are dying off because they can't survive unless they eat sugar, right? So it's so interesting. With this in mind, if you're trying to get over that hump, well, make it harder to consume sugar, right? What is your, oh man, once I open the fridge and I see those Magnum ice cream bars there, I just can't not eat them. Yeah, me neither. I eat like 3 of those things, feel sick, and I'm like, why did I do that? Where instead, you just don't bring it in the house. Don't bring it in the house. Make the hill harder to go get sugar. And then if you do go get ice cream or go get that sugar, so be it. Enjoy yourself. But make it harder to do we'll say, destructive habit. Make it easier to do a good habit. And we'll give more examples as we go, but let's go number, what are we on, 2 or 3? We're on 3.
We are on 3.
Hit me. What's number 3?
So tracking or just accumulate your wins. People still love stickers. I think they make me happy, but accumulate your wins so you can point to, hey, I've been choosing this for the last 3 days and it's working really well for me. I'm going to go on a 4-day streak. So we can't, if we don't monitor our progress, we don't know about our progress. So this is one really nice way to track it and give yourself some non-food rewards too. That goes right into the next one.
Yeah, the way I like to say that is you cannot master what you do not measure. Right? Like where focus goes, energy flows, results soon follow. If we really want to be in a position that we are, without getting neurotic about it, but are putting effort towards something, we have to know how we're doing. And we have to measure in a way that isn't also destructive. Because remember, we can weigh ourselves every single day. Oh, I'm measuring it. I'm going to master it. Where focus goes, energy flows, results soon follow. Yes. But if that's a negative feedback loop where you weigh yourself every day and you're doing the right actions, but now you feel bad, kind of like what Charity said in the beginning. Oh, I feel bad after doing this action. Destructive habit, right? So just make sure any habit you're going to put into place for measuring, it empowers you. It does not disempower you. And one of the best ways, in my opinion, for tracking is you track your actions, results-based actions, right? You can't lose because it doesn't matter what the scale says. It doesn't matter how, certain maybe external factors or external measurements are telling you what's happening. You did your action. You win. You can't fail as long as you do the action, right? So I'm a big believer in that. I don't know, Charity, if you're with that. Amy says hi.
No, I do. I just think it's important to track the things maybe that you did not do. That sounds kind of like a negative, but maybe you did not sit down and binge Netflix like you normally would. Yay, that's a win. I hope you also replace it with something positive, but maybe at the beginning it's what you didn't do. I didn't eat the snacks that were left on the table from one of my patients or something like that. I did something different. Or you didn't do anything. Sometimes we forget about the things that we didn't do, but those can add up as well. So that can be a fun thing to track also. So you don't only have to have a to-do list. You can have a to-don't list.
Yeah, that's a great point. Brenda says, I like this idea. She says, sugar is as addictive as crack. I've never had crack, so I can't say for sure. But yes, it is very addicting. And Amy says, hi. Anything to add with number 3 before we go to number 4?
Nope, I don't think so.
All right, hit us with number 4.
Number 4 is going to be find an accountability buddy or a partner that will do this with you. Because I bet you're not the only one in your household or around you that has an addictive or destructive behavior that they would like to modify or change.
It's a great point. And
you can also talk about it on Facebook. Like, what is it when you have that, when you tell people that you're going to do something, you're more likely to follow through. So maybe sit there and have a sounding board that you're saying you're going to do, commit to it. We do what we're committed to and devoted to, and tell others about it.
Yes, you could consider it a law of influence, or just if you're interested in learning more about how humans tick, check out a book. It's called 6 Laws of Influence by Robert Cialdini. I don't know if you've ever read that one, but that's a great one. But one of the laws he talks about why humans do the things they do is this idea of commitment and consistency. So if you have declared that I am doing something, you have more pull towards doing it because you don't want to look like an idiot, right? You've said I'm going to do this thing. Exactly. Right. And that's how we've, grown through tribes, is, being human. The other thing is a connection, right? When you have an accountability partner, maybe there's some love there, but you have connection. One of the things that helped me tremendously in my early years get addicted to exercise as positive addiction is doing it with other people, doing it with people I cared about. And we would do it in a way, this is just what worked for me, that was like hard. We would do hard things, so it felt like we were like pushing through together. And I was on this I'll say this, what do you call that when you're on like, not a crusade, but like you're on like this like mission-driven quest together, and it made me really connected. So like it was, yes, I would get certainty that when I go to the gym, I'll feel strong. It gets significant that I'm working harder than everybody else at the time. I had connection because the person I was with, we were like struggling and suffering together. And then also I had a lot of growth because like when you first start off your journey, you have the most rapid expansion of growth. So like, look, if you're out there and you're just starting your journey again or starting it for the first time, this is one of the most exciting times because this is where you see the most progress the fastest. Take advantage of that. Enjoy it. Every person that I know that has exercised for 15 or 20 years, they don't see progress anymore unless they like drastically change the type of their goal, and they go from like strength training to like purely endurance cardio. So enjoy it. Right? Like beginner gains are a real thing. And like, yeah, like embrace it. Like, wow, I'm taking, these little actions and getting this much result. That's a great thing. So any action you do you want to make sure that it aligns with as many of these human needs as possible, and just identify are your, what are your top two, 1 to 2 needs. For me, it's always been significance and certainty. It doesn't mean that uncertainty, love, and growth isn't as important, it doesn't mean they're not important. It just means that, I want to be important, or at least that's what it was in my 20s. It has shifted a little bit in my 30s, but yeah, more towards connection and love. But
And when you're talking about account, like having those partners and stuff, it sounded like there was a little bit of maybe competition, healthy competition. So
yeah,
you're challenging each other. And I would also say in males, especially you guys, that's why missions together are so important and why there's such camaraderie and like military personnel and stuff, because they've been through hard things together. Or if you get trapped on an elevator, whatever, you guys have this moment in time that you'll never forget, and it bonds you kind of for indefinitely. And in men, it creates this vasopressin in their bodies, and then females are looking to get that like different hormones that are released. But so it's interesting to find the differences between the two, and I'm not saying that's across the board, but I was just reading about that, like when it comes to male and female relationships and what you guys are seeking, and yours is the camaraderie and that doing a mission together, while
yeah,
females are more probably about sharing stories and feeling connected that way. So
yeah.
that's cool.
And this is
Yeah.
why we're doing the challenge, right? Like the reason we're doing this self-care comeback challenge, like a lot of this information you can just watch in one of the recordings I did before, but there's something different about being on, kind of a mission together, about sharing stories, about getting around the campfire and being like, this is what happened today, this is how I'm going to improve tomorrow. And somebody's like, yes, hey, that happened to me too. Here's
Me
what I
too.
found. And
Right.
right, it's
Yeah.
just having a community, especially of other people that are just like you, it can be really significant. So if you're not on the challenge yet, like it's free, like just jump on it. The recordings in the group, it looks like this. You
I
can't
think
miss
it'll
it.
be fun too to expand your idea of self-care. Self-care could
Yeah.
mean washing the dishes for you. I mean, it can be
Yeah.
anything. Just choose something that you feel really good about afterwards and hopefully during, and helps you move towards the goals that you're going towards. So even just being in the group, you might find some other ideas that you're like, oh, I never really thought of that, but that sounds like a great way. Some people even use exercise as self-care. So it's just kind of big. It doesn't have to be bubble baths and pedicures. It can be,
Right.
and it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's expensive either. It can be things that are completely free. Maybe it's just saying, I'm going to get a hug. I'm going to get a hug at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm going to find somebody. It can be something simple but as significant as that as well. So expand your mind and ideas about self-care. I think you'll be surprised what you find and how well it serves you.
Definitely. And then number 5 was non-food rewards, right?
Yeah.
Which
So
we
when you're
kind of just
tracking
talked
and stuff
about.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of did when you're tracking.
And we have, in just diving into this a little bit more, behavior that's rewarded is repeated, right? So just like children, if you have a child and you're trying to get them to do something, you reward the behavior that you're doing and you punish the behavior that you don't want them to do. The example is the grocery store. You go to the grocery store with your child and they run a fit. I want this thing. I want this thing. And then what do? Oh man, some people will be nervous that, oh man, they're causing a disturbance. I don't want them to cause a disturbance because that makes me feel like I'm a bad mom. Just throw it in the cart. Well, now they are being rewarded for being that annoying type of kid. So what do we want to do instead? We want to take it on the chin and not reward it. We want to punish that behavior. So it's very similar with us. We're just big kids. We're humans. So any action you do that is positive, reward yourself. Now, don't reward yourself with food because that can sometimes create a weird relationship with food. Reward yourself like the bubble baths, or like, calling a friend, or, even as, silly as it sounded to me the first time Charity brought it up, but it makes a lot of sense, is stickers. Like, it's just being reminded that you're winning, that you're doing good things. Like, it's like just gaining evidence. Like if we really want to change our identity, we've talked about this before, but if we really want to change our identity, what we have to do is gain new evidence. How do we gain new evidence? We gain new evidence from the actions that we're doing and by focusing on those actions, right? You don't need to be able to do everything perfect to change your identity. You just have to have the majority of votes. And that takes time to do. It takes time. So one of the ways you can speed that process up is by acknowledging your wins. So like whether it's on your, desk at work, or whether it's your refrigerator at home, or whether it's your bathroom mirror, You just have a running list of your victories, not the things that you did wrong, your victories. Hey, I moved today. It's like you can have 3 goals. Like I'm just making this up, but it's like you can have a movement goal, you can have, and make it really small, depending on where you're starting out, right? Especially if you've tried and failed a lot, our egos are hurt, right? Our self-esteem is diminished. So we have to really just start gaining that trust with ourselves back. And you do that by setting the bar extremely low to the point that you could just like walk over it and you're like, oh man, that was easy. You want to make it impossible for you to fail in the beginning so that you can gain momentum. If you set the bar too high in the beginning and it's a chance you'll fail and your ego's already vulnerable, you're screwed. So we have to take these steps. So like set up a movement goal, a water goal, a sleep goal, right? A protein goal, whatever it is, and just make it impossible to fail. Because again, it does not matter how quickly you get to the final form of you being, we'll say, optimal with nutrition and sleep. What matters is that you are closer today than you were yesterday. Because with a long enough timeline, you will get there.
Consistency and stability. Yep, just keep moving forward. And like the home edit ladies talk about low bar goals, which I love that idea. Yeah, like low bar. And then if you get above it, great. And you can do it again and you can raise the bar, but you need to start with stepping over the bar and just kind of making your giving, celebrating those victories along the way as you do it. And you're more likely to. See, it's all related.
100% crucial. Amy says, just tried to join a list a few times, but it keeps glitching. Oh, that's weird. Hopefully the recording comes out for you. Brenda says, pull ourselves aside and reassess. Such a good point. Yeah, it's necessary. This journey that we're on, if we really want it, if we really want to win, we have to commit to starting and never stopping again, right? Now that sounds heavy, especially if you're hearing me and all you've ever done in the past are the quick fixes. Because quick fixes are go, go, go as hard and fast as you can. They're a sprint. And what happens after you're done with a sprint? You're out of breath, it doesn't feel good, and you're exhausted, and you don't want to sprint again. So when I say to you, start and never stop again, something that might pop into our mind is, oh my God, I have to sprint forever. How could I ever do that? That's not what we're doing. We're walking forever.
One foot on the step.
That's it. Like that's it. One step at a time. Like I've had the unique opportunity, and I know Charity has as well. We've been in this space for, over a decade each. And the people that I can still call upon 3 years later, 4 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, that have sustained the results in one way or another, even if their goals have shifted, it's because they've committed to the infinite game. I will start and never stop again. I do not care how slow I go. I just will not stop. And I will, give myself grace, as Charity would say. I'm going to give myself grace. And I know I'm not going to be perfect. And I'm going to get rid of this binary thinking, on, off, black, white. I'm either good or I'm bad. No, it's a slider. Just like a dimmer in your house. It's not, are you on or off? It's how on and how off are you? And that's how you win. Because now you realize, like, all right, I'm always on this journey. I'm always moving forward. And when you do that, you change the approach. Because if you know that you're on this journey no matter what, man, it's like you change from building a house of cards where the goal is to get as high as you can, as fast as you can, and then it all just tumbles down, to how can I build the most solid structure ever, right? Have you guys ever seen the building the skyscrapers in like New York or Dubai and stuff? And it takes so freaking long to build these structures, and you step outside and a whole year can go by and you're like, they're still freaking building this thing. That's what we're doing. But why do those buildings stand the test of time? Why do they last 50, 70, 90? The Empire State Building, why is that still standing? It's because they did it right. It's because they reinforced with steel beams. And it took years. Like really quick, how long actually did it take? Let's look. How long did it take to build the Empire State Building? It took 1 year and 45 days. But guess what? That thing's never falling. Eventually maybe it will, but we'll be long gone. So what if we approach that with our bodies, with our minds, with our actions? What if we said, okay, look, hold on a second. What if we did something crazy? What if we said, screw it, I'm not even going to measure my progress? Like, you know, like this is kind of crazy, but like I'm not even going to measure my progress for a year. I'm just going to do the actions. And whatever happens, happens. I'm just going to do the actions to the best of my ability, improve on them every day. Don't you think at the end of a year, you would most likely, unless you have more than like 60, 70 pounds to lose, be at your final goal, right? It sounds crazy, but I'll keep telling everyone this. The majority of people that I have seen lose their final goal and sustain it, they don't even realize they hit their final goal until weeks or months after, because they're not obsessed with the result. They're obsessed with the actions. And then they just so happen to go to a checkup with their doctor and they go 148. The person turns their head and they're like, 148? What are you talking about? I haven't been 148. Do it again. Do it again. Because they've been 210, right? For years. And then they realize, oh my God, I just hit my final goal. And all I was doing was just living my life.
Right. Because you created a lifestyle of it, right? A lifestyle of health.
If you do not feel like you are just living your life, now don't get me wrong, when you start something new and you're with your coach, like, yeah, there's that, I'll call it the acclimation period. And it can sometimes feel like, okay, I'm learning, I'm growing, but eventually all of it just, you know, like we were saying before, beginner gains, right? It's like the acclimation phase happens and then it's just slow progress from there. You take your eyes off of the result and shift them to the actions, right? If I were to say to you, hey, you have to watch paint dry. Oh my God, that's the most painful thing ever. But if you can go do something else while the paint dries, oh, you come back, it's dry. This is the same thing on a longer time scale with our bodies. Don't obsess over the result. It will come. Obsess over the actions that you know get the result, and they'll take care of itself. And then the paint will dry when you're not even paying attention. The results will come when you're not even obsessed about them. Obsess over the things you can control. You can control how much you sleep. You can control how much you eat. You can control all of these factors about your life. When you do that, you will feel empowered, because you feel disempowered when you focus on things you cannot directly control. You feel empowered when you focus on things you can control and then control them. Hopefully we're getting through to even one person out there, because yes, like, this is real transformation. We could sell you this idea that, look, 30 pounds in 6 weeks, all you need to do is eat for your body type and it's all yours for $199. Click the link. No. Like, look, if you want a coach because you want the help with somebody being able to guide you through the emotional ups and downs and personalizing your approach, compressing decades into days, sure, hire us as a coach. But other than that, like, you really just need to start and never stop. You know, and it sounds easy. It's simple. It's not easy. Simple, not easy.
Right.
And a lot of the time, it's just shifting the way we look at it, shifting our mind.
Yeah. And hopefully loving yourself along the way, right? That goes on with self-care as well. So even if you're like, I really don't love the body that I'm in right now because whatever reason, when you start to look and find the positive, the more positives you'll find. And just like when we're accumulating positive habits or addictions, the more you look for them and the more you seek out ways that feel positive, the more you will find, because what you look at grows, which is so cool. Your mind is so fun. You're going to see nothing but yellow cars if you tell it.
Right. Where focus goes, energy flows, results soon follow, right? There's so
and you
many
might
things.
as well enjoy the journey along the way and stuff too, because it's indefinite. You know, this is going on for your lifetime. You might as well have fun along the way. And I would say find your flowers and the things that make you happy and bring you joy.
100%.
Yeah.
I think one of the final thoughts to this is we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. The reason we make these videos, and you can go back and pretty much 3 months ago listen to us saying pretty much the same thing, is because we just need to be reminded. Every single day we're getting hit with stimulus that we're not even conscious of a lot of times, that are pulling us away from what we really want, shifting our focus from what matters most to what's the most urgent. A lot of us do urgent things that aren't that important instead of the important things that aren't that urgent. And that's sad.
Prioritizing you, I would say, is important and urgent, right?
Right. And I've been there so many times, right? I could tell you guys stories upon stories about how it took me a long time to be able to shift and only do important things. You know, sometimes you got to let fires burn. because they're not that important. They're kind of small. And what we have to focus on is the fire that hasn't even started yet. That if it were to light would be catastrophic to our life, and that's health, right?
That's true.
When we
And
have
I wonder
health,
too if we seek. Go ahead.
no. I wonder too what.
I was just thinking. I wonder too if we kind of get addicted to stimulation as well,
Yes,
and when we sit in
that's the
peace.
story of my life.
Right. Okay. So when we sit in peace or we sit in a place of quiet, or like when she was saying, reassessing the situation, when you're sitting there kind of thinking for a little bit and having a pause, it
Yes.
feels weird. Like you feel like you're missing something and it's going to take your body some time to adjust. So I just kind of throw that out there. You don't necessarily need to seek something to numb out or stimulate you. Some of these
Yes.
things are actually maybe going to make you feel even tired because
Yes.
your nervous system is finally getting to take an exhale and to calm down. And if you're not used to being in that, it's going to feel different. Just like when you're learning a new habit, you're creating new pathways in your brain, and it's kind of actually painful for your brain. And that's okay because it's creating positive pathways. And that's what we're doing with these positive changes, and hopefully finding your peace and just being in a more calm state rather than that constant stimulation and just going right into that habit loop.
That is how I ran my 20s, and it burnt me the F out. Dude, like that, I remember thinking to myself, how do I fix being tired? I thought being tired was a problem to be fixed. Look, if you're chronically tired and you feel tired 24/7, okay, that's something that needs to be fixed. But I was riding the high most days, right? I'd have my caffeine, I'm on fire, I'd be teaching my sessions in my first gym I was building, I was personal training, all this stuff, and I was on, baby. But then I didn't like feeling off. I felt like that was bad. So I had to shift how I viewed that. Where now it's like a yin yang, right? A yin yang isn't just one black circle. It's half black, half white. It's half rest, half go. So it's being able to, I had to learn how to sit in my feelings, how to sit there and be okay with being tired, right? Because that's where you recover. You recover through that. If you are always heightened, you never recover, right? A couple things really quick. Brenda says, yes, I totally agree. That message just went away. She said, my daughter's a PACU nurse and I'm a retired OR nurse. I lost 85 pounds just retiring. Right? When you start getting rid of a lot of that stress, it's amazing, changing lifestyle. Bevan says, makes sense. Totally. I have been noticing this. Yeah. Guys, if this is beneficial at all, or if you agree or disagree, or, can share some of your own experience, let us know in the comments. We want to hear from you guys. Any other thoughts?
Put down what your favorite act of self-care is. So maybe we can start a list of people who are having ideas and things. Some different ones maybe that you find enjoyable. I think someone told me she likes to do puzzles, and I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds like the worst act for me. That is there's no, and I don't want to yuck another person's yum or whatever. But I was like, I tried to adjust my face. I'm like, I'm glad you like puzzles. So just keep an open mind and stuff. And you might be surprised. You might get some ideas. You might put some things on your to-don't list. So just kind of share what you like. I think what's one of your favorite things that you like to do that you call for self-care?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great.
What's yours, Ryan?
Oh, you're asking me personally. Oh man.
Sure, why not?
So I have gone back and forth with this a lot because when I was young, I played a lot of video games, but video games are inherently stimulating. So I do like to play video games as downtime. I think that it's important what else I'm doing during the video game and what type of video game. I'll give you an example. A simple video game like Pac-Man, which now I have on my wall. It's like one of those like arcade units. It's very small. It's like a imitation. Oh, it's not imitation, but it's a little Pac-Man. My dad and I play. Just focusing on that is fine. Now, if I play a different game, like let's say I'm playing a game on a computer, and at the same time that I'm playing, I'm also watching a movie or on my phone, doing like multiple things. Well, now I'm very much overstimulated and I'm not relaxing. Another idea is, what if I'm playing with people that aren't good? And what I mean by that, or I won't say aren't good, but I'll mean I'm playing with people that make me feel bad. So an example of this, which I know a lot of you probably won't have experience with, but one of the games I would play is a MMORPG. So it's like a massively online multiplayer game where some of the people that play that game aren't the nicest people. So it's like, if I'm trying to relax and now I'm dealing with somebody over here that's like, you effing suck, it's like, which doesn't happen to me because I'm such a good player, but everyone else maybe. But like, it's like, oh, okay, I'm now associating with people that like make me feel bad. Even if it's not directed towards me, but I just see it. It's like, oh man. So like, our downtime definitely has to be something that does recover us, that does enrich us. So that's the only thing that I've been looking at is even if I play like an MMO RPG for downtime, I have to turn off my chat and make sure I'm not doing anything else in the background. And if I don't want to play anymore because I'm bored, then I get up and leave. I don't seek more stimulation. Kind of like, an example that more people are used to with this is probably like watching a movie while being on your phone, or watching like, something while being on your phone at the same time. It's like, it's overstimulating. It's not restful. Now, could watching a movie be restful? Sure, on its own, or being on your phone? Yeah, maybe. But like, the most restful thing is probably just sitting there. But it's the most boring, and that's one of the hardest things for me to do is just sit.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, I have had multiple times in my life where I took out pretty much any enjoyable stimulation because my idea was, okay, if I can take out low pain, high pleasure actions, I will be more pulled because the bar will lower for every other action to do healthy things. And I was right. I was so motivated to exercise, like beyond belief, so motivated to work because my alternative is staring at a wall. If you're trying to hack your motivation, get a ton of sleep and do that. Now that second one might not be, great for everyone, but I don't do it anymore because like it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth sitting down for 2 to 3 hours a day just like with my thoughts, because eventually you close out all your tabs and you have no more thoughts. You're just sitting there and it's peaceful, but like peace is boring sometimes. Especially when like I don't know if it's because I started taking pre-workout at an early age or something, taking like loads amounts of caffeine at a young age, but like or like maybe it's just my way my brain is wired with having ADHD type tendencies, but I love being stimulated. It's my addiction is to be stimulated. So that's something I'm very aware of. That's something that, like I'll get a little personal for a second. It's like when my son was like 1 year old, I couldn't just sit there with him for like 30 minutes and play. And I didn't like that about myself. I did not like that because I was bored out of my mind sitting there singing the same song. And maybe other people feel this way too, but I didn't like that. So that's when I started going, hey, let me take out all this other stimulation. So sitting down with him is like bliss because it's so stimulating compared to looking at a wall. That's where it came from. And I will say now that he's getting older and he can do more things, it's like naturally more exciting. But it's something to consider. A couple more comments coming in as well. Brenda said, I went back to jigsaw puzzles, but I really like to soak in the tub with Epsom salts and listening to my favorite pod show. It's awesome. You mean this, right? This is your favorite pod show? No. Bevan says, I don't have one or know how to start one. I'm always on the go, so I've sadly only developed bad habits. I love cake, and it's where I go for self-care. First off, great awareness. Like, that's amazing that you have that, Bevan. The first thing to do is like just identify what is the simplest action, so lowest pain, highest reward or pleasure that you can put into place, right? That's step one, because then you can create a positive feedback loop where naturally you'll be pulled towards doing more healthy actions because, oh man, I'm only doing this much. It's not hard to do and I'm getting this much reward. And then they start to create almost like an avalanche. Think about a ball of snow at the top of a mountain that when it starts rolling, it's easy to stop, but eventually it creates an avalanche and there's so much momentum that it just can't be stopped. That's the position we want you to get to. That's the position that we all strive to be at, that like, it takes me more effort to not exercise than to exercise. On my rest days, I have to willpower myself and distract myself to not exercise because it makes me feel so good. Crazy. That's what we want.
And I wonder too, like self-care doesn't have to take a lot of extra time, or like she's saying she's going to cake. Is it because you're needing an energy boost because you're hungry? Maybe you're hitting that afternoon slump, kind of what, maybe look into the deeper why behind it. And then maybe ask yourself, so what am I getting out of this? Is there something else that I could get out? Sometimes people reach for food for comfort, right? What are some other things that might bring you comfort? Maybe it's a blanket, maybe it's a hug, maybe it's petting your cat, maybe it's saying hi to the dog. I have no idea. Or maybe it's even just going out and hugging a tree. They like those things too. So I could just be little, oh, and I did just realize, I learned that you don't have to necessarily hug another person to get the benefits of a hug, but you need to hug for at least 30 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds for that oxytocin to be released in your brain. Do it. Try this today. This is your active self-care. I think it'd be great. So 20-second hugs, because there is something different. It changes it about, for me, between 15 and 18 seconds. You can just feel like this nice flow, but it takes a little bit. It's not like a bump one kind. You can't just tap it in. But they also, I was looking at research. You can just hug like a pillow. It's just that action of rounding over something is what stimulates that hormone to be released. So you don't even need a hug buddy.
That's really interesting. Really interesting.
But I mean, hugs are good for everyone. We need, and I think they even said how many a day you're supposed to have. And then kissing, you're supposed to do that for like 30 seconds because it's supposed to, I know, it helps release all those things. So do it for longer than you're used to.
I gotta put up a Tinder bio. I'm just kidding. I'm married.
But
like, if I was single, it'd put up a Tinder bio. Looking for self-care. Need to kiss for 30 seconds a day. Looking for accountability partner.
Yeah, that's right. Here we go. You have to, so many kisses a day, so many hugs a day. But like I said, kissing, I don't think you can do by solo, but the hug one you can and still reap the benefits, which I thought was kind of cool. Or maybe you're just not really a hugger in general with other people, but you can still get that benefit. And I'm just doing it for the seconds count.
The other thing I would think about too, to Charity's point, as she mentioned, identify why, like what you're trying to, like why do you feel like you need this coping in the first place? Like what are you trying to heal or solve for? And I think about, identifying the stress. So what is the stress that's making you feel this way that we need to cope? And then what are you going to do about it? So there's 3 ways to deal with stress we've talked about in the past. It's like you can rip it out at the source so it never happens again. You can change the way we view it, which means it's going to keep happening, but we can look at it in a different way that empowers us instead of disempowers us. And number 3 is like change the way we cope with the stress. So that's talking about, like hugging a pillow or like calling a friend or something of the sort, and there's examples we could give with these things. But like an example is like, somebody that you work with loses their temper and puts it out on you. It's like you can change your job and rip it out of the source, but also that's a lot harder to do, and maybe you don't want to do that. So then it's, well, maybe we're going to change the way we view it. Can we realize that like this person getting mad has nothing to do with me? People only ever have 2 types of responses. They have cries for help and loving responses. A cry for help means they are not whole in the moment. They do not feel their best, and they are essentially crying for help. So whenever you have someone that does something mean to you, they're really struggling on the inside. And can you identify that? If you can, it just glides right off you, or glides off you more, because you realize this has nothing to do with me. It just so happens that as adults, a lot of us don't feel whole often. And then you have one person that cries for help. They say something kind of nasty to the other person. Instead of the other person being able to acknowledge it and going, got it, and stay grounded and stay present and hear that person. It takes a lot of work and energy. Instead, they just cry for help back. Well, you never do this. And then it's just 2 people crying at each other, So being able to change the way we view it is really powerful. And it's changed my life, starting from my early 20s.
Not to take it so personally. That's a really good point. I read a book that it was saying, just think about all the moments that happened in your life, and you think that this happened to you because of you, because you're the player in all of this. But there's so much else. Think of all the other things that are going on that have nothing to do with you. Why do you think this one has to do with you too? It doesn't. It is what it is. And then adjusting your attitude and reactions to it. And I think that is where we come into that pause and having that little bit of peace. And just like with habits, is this really what I want to do right now? What do I actually need right now? Is this how I want to react to this person? No, this is how I want to respond to this person as the one that I want to be coming from, instead of just reacting and sending it right back. You don't need to be their mirror.
Great. Yeah, that's a really good point. Brenda says, I love this idea. Bevan says, I love that. Brenda says, whoa, great thought. Maybe say, are you all right? Exactly. Sometimes you can catch people off guard just by changing your, demeanor. Like, somebody erupts at you and it's like, are you okay? Is
How
everything
can I help?
okay?
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, being able to almost look at the situation objectively instead of subjectively,
Mm-hmm.
like not taking it personally. I know one of the things, Brenda, you said too is like, for Bevan, like, hey, maybe start like your form of self care is like starting to make food at home for yourself. So I would love to help you with that as well. Would it help if I put this in the chat? It's a resource. It's 36 Tastes So Good for Get Your Eating Healthy recipes. It's some of our favorite recipes over the last 10 years that are super simple to make. There's grocery lists, pictures, directions, and I can just throw this below. This could be a good place to start to reinvite some of that self care. Just let me know in the comments. I'll send this right now, and then anyone else that's watching now or in the future can grab it too. But sometimes we just need to get back to basics, right? We just need to, as a form of self care, cooking for ourselves, even just one day a week, just saying like, hey, Friday night, it's like I'm going on a date, baby, and it's with me,
Mm-hmm.
right?
How lovely an opportunity that you have multiple times a day to practice self-care when it comes to the food you put in your body. And that's
Yes.
awesome. It's already there for you and stuff. And you're doing it. So hopefully now you can do it with more of an intention towards, because I mean, well, you can do actions over and over again, but if you put some intention and mindfulness behind it, there's so much more powerful. And then you have that positive loop in your brain and you're more likely to do it again. So
Yes.
how fun. Sometimes you think of eating as a chore, but I think sometimes it can also be life lessons and opportunities for you too.
That's a great point. Brenda says, that's yes. Give Walmart your grocery list and let them pick it up. Yeah, I use Instacart. Like Instacart is probably one of the best things to avoid or as you said too, like just having them do your shopping for you. It's super powerful. Like there's a bunch of like easy strategies that you can do to make this whole game easier. One of them is just get your groceries delivered and a lot of the time or delivered or just picked out for you so you don't have to do that, and a lot of the time it doesn't cost that much more money. Like at Walmart, I think it could be wrong, but I think it's like you just pick it up, and I don't even know if it's extra money or it's maybe like $5 fee or something.
Or they put it in your trunk or something. Yeah, it doesn't cost anything where I'm at. So it's awesome.
That's like
Yeah.
crazy to think about, that you can potentially save not just like an hour of shopping or 30 minutes of shopping, but you can also save the attention and mental energy that goes into shopping.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's wild. When I did it the first time, I'm like, are you serious? It was that easy. Like, are you kidding me? Because you never know. Walmart can be a hit or a miss.
Yeah.
So I was like, it was super impressive. So yes, I love it. And then I save money because when you bring children into the grocery store, it takes twice as long and you probably spend twice as much. I love their dear little souls. But it's just the reality. And I think that it can be saved. And just think that time you could save and put towards self-care. So there, look, you just created time for your self-care rituals.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful idea. Bevan says, okay, sounds good. I actually do cook and bake for myself. I struggle with people doing things for me. I like to get my own groceries. When you say you struggle with people doing things for me, like you don't like for people to help you? Or I'm kind of curious. Brenda says, no extra money. Let's go. Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's an easy thing to incorporate. Is there any other like quick things that you can think of? I mean, the one that I always think about with grocery shopping is like just get the rotisserie chickens. Like I get probably 2 or 3 rotisserie chickens every like 2 to 3 days. Why would I cook my own chicken ever again? Especially like I think Costco chickens are like, I think they're like $5 or something, or $3 or something ridiculous. And they put them all the way in the back of the store so that you don't like, they limit how many chickens you can get. But like they taste so much better than what I'm gonna cook, and it's already done and it's delicious.
Right.
Yeah,
I love
like
chopped
that's an easy
salad.
hack.
I
You like
think
what?
chopped salads are like my favorite thing because I hate the lettuce gets wet, when you rinse it and stuff like that, and it just gross. The whole thing, and it's cold. So I love chopped salads are like my favorite. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah, that's a
And
good
you can
point
throw
too.
whatever protein you want on them and stuff. And I love the idea of having the building blocks in your fridge at the ready for you to put things together. So you have all those different ideas. One day you can throw it on eggs, you could throw it on salad, another one, you just have the protein in there, change up the flavorings. Maybe we go crazy with this when it comes to food prepping and stuff. But simplify it, make it fun and
And this
delicious.
and exactly, and this goes back to what we just talked about in the beginning of the podcast too, which was like number 4, right? It's primary environment, or 3, primary
Mm-hmm.
environment. Make it easy for you to perform healthy actions. So have that rotisserie chicken, have a couple other options, and have the other things that are sweet treats. Like, sure, have like the fruit, have those easy to grab, but like ice cream and stuff, like don't put that in the house. And then if you really want it, no guilt, go get it, but don't bring it back, right?
Right.
Nothing gets stored in the home because it's so easy to just eat it all. And I know that from experience, right?
We're not talking about
Like,
this like we haven't been there.
like this,
Totally, yeah.
like my wife has so much more control than me. She's like, I just need a bite. She can have a candy bar, chocolate bar in there for like 2 weeks and just have one block a day. I don't know. I don't know how she does it because like I'm like, oh cool, and I just like eat the whole
Oh
thing,
my.
and then I'm like, I'm still
Right.
hungry. So yeah, like maybe identify too, like what kind of person are you? Like, are you that type of person that can or can't? Because like I have no restraint in that regard. I'm just like, whatever, I'm gonna eat it. So
Yeah, Gretchen Rubin talked about that. Some people are like abstainers, and other people it's just kind of all or nothing. So some people can have the bite of chocolate, or they can have a little bit of dessert, and other people have to just be like, that's not for me. And you
right,
just have to find, just
and it's
different ones.
and it's not right for me right now. Like I can eat those things. Like I could go to the store right now or go to an ice cream stand and like pound some ice cream, but I don't want to right now. But if I ever do in the future, I will. And then I'll just like be aware of it. Like if I start doing it every day, well, hey, maybe this action should change and I can dive into that. But otherwise, you know, every week, even every week, like eating dessert every week, like it's not even a bad thing. Like I feel like a lot of us are stuck on this idea of like, oh, I can only have one cheat meal, but it's like this idea of even calling it a cheat meal is
Mm,
setting us up for this deprivation mentality. It's like if you want the thing,
mhm.
eat it. It's all a ratio. Like even if you ate dessert every single day, um, I mean, of course, like I'm oversimplifying it. Quantity, quality, all those things come into example, but like you could, it still would be possible to be quote optimal 80% of the time. So like just strive towards a ratio of optimal versus non-optimal that you're happy with. And it's all relative to where you're starting from. If you're starting at zero optimal, 100% non optimal, just go to 50-50, which is kind of a big jump, but like 50-50, which might mean that one day you're on, the other day you're not. Or just, hey, I'm going to have dessert every day. Like you don't have to deprive yourself, but it's all relative to where you're starting from, right?
Mhm.
And this is the gray area that sometimes is the hardest part is like, you know, getting out of this binary thinking. Um,
Mhm.
But yes, Andrew says, "Good morning, Ryan. I'll get to you today. I'll get with you today and get things rolling. Been eventful since we talked, but self-care at its finest. Heck yeah, brother. Happy to hear it. Let's go." Bevan says, "LOL." Brenda says, "I love the ice cube chicken for soup or salad." My wife does that. She does ice cube or not ice cube, but frozen cube beans. So she's from Brazil, and my son loves eating beans. Beans are a staple in our house, and she makes them in the pot like the authentic way, and then freezes them into cubes, and we have them for like a week. It's pretty cool.
Huh,
Yeah,
that is
kind
cool.
of interesting. The first time I saw it, I'm like, "Is that an ice cube of beans?"
Right.
Like that's gross,
Do I understand what I'm seeing right now?
but reheating it tastes the same, so no worries at
Huh,
all there. Yeah, really good.
cool.
Brenda says something else to do. Get a watch that can do your A1C instantly. Excuse me. Great incentive. Yeah, yeah. I mean, anything that you measure that can't have a negative feedback loop. So usually A1C doesn't have such an emotional response to it if it doesn't go down. So like usually that's like one that you can do and track pretty well and doesn't feel bad. Weight could be and usually is for a lot of people. Brenda says, for me, mine went down from 6.2 to 5.9 by doing this. Let's go. Love to hear it, Brenda. On the way. I love it. Well, we're rounding up on an hour here. We should probably finish out. Hopefully this has been beneficial. Feel free to grab that that recipe book down there. Hopefully it's beneficial to somebody listening. And any ideas to finish out on, Charity? Anything that you want to leave people
Nope.
with?
Go get your self care on and go hug someone.
Go hug someone. I love that.
30 seconds.
I mean, that's all it is. It's just 30 seconds. And if you are out there and you've yet to start your journey and you're looking for some help, feel free to click the link above or below this video. I'll put it. and you can learn more in detail how we get the results we do for our clients. Once you finish watching the video, the calendar will appear. The reason there's a delay is we want people to understand what we do before scheduling a call with our enrollment coach team. So hopefully you guys enjoy your day. We'll be back tomorrow for more. And if you're watching this live or on recording, feel free to ask questions below. We'll come back and answer them, or even answer them in tomorrow's podcast as well. We love you guys, and this is just the beginning for you. I promise. You can break through. You can make this happen. Other people are not special. You can make this happen too. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.